Well, it looks like the Somme, but it is in fact the mighty Orient in France, and it's towards the end of October 2015, and I'm out here with Jimmy Lightfoot, a seasoned Orient angler. He's locked up in the bivvy at the moment, but check out this mud, absolutely incredible. I've got a week and a half out here, and it's the same venue that Daryl Pecker's just been on for 6 weeks, and he was at the other end of the lake, and at the moment it's really busy on here. There's quite a few anglers on here, and although it's 6,000 acres in size, it's got limited bank access, limited space where you can night fish, and at the moment, as you can see, the water level is really low, and that's what always happens at this time of the year in October. Towards the dam end, which is up in that direction, there is a massive draw off of water, and as the water gets drawn off, the carp go with it as well. Some massive bays and lots of no fishing areas up towards that area there, and during the course of the autumn time a lot of the fish make their way down towards the dam, and if I'm honest, I actually think we're well away from fish at the moment. We've been here for 6 nights, there's probably no carp in front of us, and there's lads down at the dam end who are catching quite consistently, and that's where Daryl ended up having his decent hit from recently. But it did take him a few weeks to get on the fish. Unfortunately, we've only got a week and a half on this occasion, and the water is going down that quickly that when we arrived, this particular boat was underwater, and as you can see now, it's gone down and down and down and down and progressively down, and that's where we are at the present moment in time. We've got 2 rods out here. Jimmy's got 2 rods there where that boat is. The next boat along is where I've got another 2 rods, and then further around there in the distance you can just see another boat, which is where Jimmy's got his other 2 rods. So we've staggered the rods, and we're covering this area which is known as Michelin 3. Michelin Point is normally sort of in that direction, but because the water's down, you've got these 3 points that are all known as Michelin 1, 2 and 3, and we're on Michelin 3 at the moment. And it has a habit of doing fish in the autumn time. Andy Chambers has had some good fish from here in September in previous campaigns on here, and only a couple of weeks ago when Jimmy was last down here, he had a couple of fish fishing in that direction. But obviously since then there's been nothing caught on here for 2 weeks, and we've done a week now, and you know, we really are sort of, well, I think we're just wasting our time really, because I don't think there's any fish down here. I think they're all at the other end of the lake. Now you have to be obviously very prepared to fish on the Orient, and as you can see here, the old bivvy's pegged down with lots of long poles because of the mud. You bring the standard size bivvy pegs, and there's absolutely no way that bivvy will stay down there. Certainly if it starts getting windy, which is what's predicted in the next few days, you've got to use these long poles and stick them well into the mud. And just poking out the back of the bivvy there is a bit of wood. I've actually got some plywood that's underneath my ground sheet just to give it a bit of stability. Doesn't cost much to get hold of. Bit of a mess there in the bivvy, but it's comfortable. I'm happy with it, and if you're here for a few days, obviously you need to be fishing in comfort, and although it doesn't look very comfortable in there, it is actually comfortable for me compared to what my house is like. But as you can see, all around the bivvy I've got those poles, and that just keeps it all nice and firm, just in case it starts getting windy. But at the moment it's pretty flat calm. It's pretty dead out there, but there's still a chance. There's a chance of a monster, an unknown 60 or 70 from the Orient, which would just be absolutely fantastic. Well, we might be blanking and not catching any fish, but there really are some lovely sunsets. It's probably around about 7 o'clock in the evening now on a Saturday, and that's the view that I've got. And you've got 6,500 acres that's flat calm as well, so a gorgeous evening. It's not very often you see the Orient without a ripple on it. Unfortunately, we're not seeing many of the Orient's fish though, so it's scenic shots like this which are absolutely gorgeous. Now, this is one of the good things about the R3 buzzers, is that they've got a great range on them. I'm stood now in the bivvy, there's the Titan now, and there's the old rods near the water's edge. Now when I arrived, there was no way I could set up on that that area of mud there. I mean, even now it's still very, very mushy, so to set up on there it's very, very difficult to sort of get a fixing with the bivvy, even with the long poles. But that's the good thing about having these R3s. I'm probably about, I don't know, 40 metres from my rods, something like that. They've got a great distance on them, these R3s on the remote, and they're absolutely perfect for this style of fishing. So when people turn around in England and say, what do you need such distance for on a remote? Well, obviously in England, when you're fishing a small pond, you don't need to have any distance on a remote, but on a venue like this, where you do get a lot of anglers fishing here, especially the continental boys, it comes in perfect. There's no way I can put my bivvy closer to the water's edge at the moment. It's just too muddy down there, too much mushy and too difficult and too uncomfortable. So you have to be patient when you're fishing on here. If I do get a take, I'm going to have to get the old chesties on and then leisurely sort of walk to the rods. I'll walk over there now for you. As you can hear, it's all squelchy underfoot. It's just really, really uncomfortable. But all sorts of bits and pieces that you find under the mud. We've come across crayfish sort of burying themselves into the mud. We've even found little pike and perch and zander and a few little tench as well. So as the water level's going down, there's poor old fish sort of struggling for survival. But it's kept us occupied whilst there's been no fish. God, look at the mud round here. It really is mushy. And that's the sort of distance that it takes to get to the rods. It's a good old walk. And these two rods I've got fished out there on a little plateau that's about 19 foot. And it's surrounded by weed. And I mean, there's a lot of weed here, as you can see in the margins, just over the edge of that weed there. It's only about 2 or 3 foot deep. But out there in the middle, in the abyss, which is where I'm fishing, about 150 metres out, we've got 19 foot just on the edge of the weed, and that's where we're fishing to. These are the spots that Orient regulars like Jim and Jimmy Lightfoot, that is, and Andy Chambers get all their fish from. So we're just hoping that maybe during the course of the next few days that we're going to get some fish that are going to come through here. But as you can see, the rods are fished nice and high on the extendable bank sticks. I've also got a lamp here as well, which in the middle of the night, when you do get a take, or just in case you get a take, you need to know where the bank is, because it's obviously very, very dark and pitch black out there. So before you launch yourself in the boat, you turn the old lamp on so you know where HQ is, and then you get in the boat, and then we've got a nice little clear area there which I've raked out with a rake, just so I can get the boat in and out and get out there nice and quick, because there's still quite a lot of tree stumps out there, and obviously if you do get a fish, you don't want to get stuck amongst those tree stumps. But it's all sort of action stations if one of these rods goes. I've got the landing net in the boat, I've got an engine on the boat, I've got a plastic tub in there as well with all sorts of bits and pieces in there as well. I've got a GPS in there just in case it's foggy, and I've got my base camp plotted on the GPS, so I know where I'm going, because if you're launching yourself out there in the dark, obviously, and it's foggy and stuff, even with a lamp like that on the bank, you've got no idea of knowing where you are, because you just can't see further than about 20 yards in front of you. So that's just a safety precaution as well. And yeah, just down here, look at this, you can see here's a little tench, sadly perished as the water's gone back. But we've come across some pike, and not seen any carp, but there's been lots of crayfish in these margins and stuff. Must be thousands of them that die every year when the water drops back. There's me on the Orient, full grown beard as well. A lot of growth in this at the moment. It's probably the longest beard I've ever had, I reckon, and it's only just over a week's growth as well, that is. So I look like a bit of a terrorist at the moment. Probably smell like one as well. I've had a bath today though. I say a bath, I've had a little bit of a wash today. I'll show you. And this is what it's like when you're on the Orient. You don't sort of wash like you normally would do. And that's all it's been. It's basically a bucket and a bit of cardboard to stop me sinking into the mud, and the bucket just to do the washing. I just got out of the lake, and I got a little bit sort of bored today. I wouldn't say bored from fishing, just sort of sitting in the bivvy really. I'm not somebody that can just spend hours and hours of his life sitting in a bivvy wasting it. I'm a pretty active person normally. When I'm back in England, I'm always out running and doing bits and pieces like that. So today, having sat in the bivvy for the best part of a week, I decided I was going to go and have a run. So I'm thinking about coming back here in the summer, so I wanted to have a little walk around the lake and run around the lake and have a look at a few of the different spots, and that's what I did. I went for a probably 45-50 minute run and ran round to the dam wall, had a look up there, and eyed a few of the other night fishing areas, because I'm destined to definitely come back to this place because I've really enjoyed it. We haven't caught anything on this occasion, but I knew it was going to be a tricky trip. But what I have learned is a few things about the lake, which I'll obviously come back to again and put to great measure next time I come here. And believe me, I really want to do that as well, because I'd love to catch an Orient fish. When we've still got a few days left of the trip, so we could see one. It really did get me hopes up today as well, because the lads who were on the dam wall, who've been there for 2 weeks, are pulling out tomorrow, and I thought, God, we can get round there, we can probably salvage something from this trip, have the last few days over there. And they're catching them as well at the moment. They've had a few up to 25, 26 kilos. But unfortunately, one of their friends is arriving tonight, and he's going to go into that swim. So we are really just sort of sitting at the other end of the lake and just hoping and waiting for fish to come through here. But as I say, I know I'm probably not going to catch this occasion, but the information that I've got from this trip will always go towards me next coming here and having a crack, because I really want to have a go on this place. There's some really, really nice fish in here, some very wild fish, and it's a lovely place to fish as well. So even if I don't catch, I'll definitely be back. I'm certainly not going to give up, and I'll be having another crack at some stage. So keep your eyes posted for another video blog like this. But you never know, we might be looking at the video again in a few days' time when we salvage something from this trip and get lucky by catching one. But that is a gorgeous evening, as you can see behind me. Absolutely gorgeous. Lake's still miles away, but it is a lovely place to blank on. Poor old Jim. He's got a seagull that's flown through both of his lines and managed to tangle his wings around both lines. I mean, there's so many birds on this lake, certainly during the night. They're coming into the margins and feeding on all the little fry that are washed up. And I've had 3 of them that have managed to tangle themselves in my lines. Obviously in the middle of the night getting a screaming take. You're thinking, oh God, I'm into a carp, but when you see one of these little seagulls or ducks tangled in the lines, it's a bit disheartening. And at first light, Jim has managed to get this one tangled in both lines. I think today is the day that we're going to have a move. We're going to see if we can do a bit of boat fishing up by the dam wall and see if that can tempt us a carp over the last couple of days.
Calm down. I'm going to try and set you free, so don't pet me, right? Don't pet me, I'm going to set you free. Don't pet me! Don't pet. Don't pet!
Crazy things. Well, we're moving swim. It's taken me probably a good 2 hours to pack away, and now it's probably going to take me about an hour and a half to get to where I want to get to. And that's my towing boat. And if I can just turn this camera around, there's me. Hee, how you doing? Right, we're just on our way up to the dam wall to have a look up there to see if we can do a bit of day fishing. There's been a few fish getting caught up there. It means fishing out of boats. A bit of a risk as well, because we're leaving what is renowned for being a good area on the lake that's good for doing big fish, to go and try an area of the lake that's probably going to be a bit busy. So it is a bit of a risk, but these are the things that you need to do when you're trying to catch carp on a water like this, and we're both willing to do it. Jimmy's way up in the distance at the moment, right out there somewhere. He packed down a bit quicker than I did, and he's got a bit of a head start on me, but we'll be up there sooner or later. Anyway, let's have a look around the lake whilst we make our way around to the area that we're going to fish. That is Michelin 3 where we were, and just around here, if I can, that's the reserve area down there, and over there is Michelin 2, and behind that is Michelin 1, and then that is the point of Italy. But we're going to be heading up towards where that boat is in the distance and see if we can find ourselves some space. Right, here we are then. We're out in the boats having a few hours fishing during the day. Jim, as usual, is on his mobile phone. Unlimited data. God, how jammy is that? I've already spent about 30 quid for about 2 minutes on my phone, but we have got a few things to report. We've had a few fish. We had 3 fish yesterday, up to about £28, something like that. So that was nice to get off the mark. And you know, we're out in the boats now. We're fishing a little bay, which we did see some fish in there 2 days ago when it was nice and sunny. I don't know if you can see that behind me. There's the rest of the bay, and it's up towards the dam wall really where we are. We're on the exact limit that you can fish when you're out in the boats. There's the buoys, the yellow buoys. These signify the limit that you can fish, and we sort of moored up here and found a massive rock which weighed an absolute ton, and we've bungee corded ourselves to the yellow buoy and then used the massive rock to use as the mud weight for the other side. And we've just got this other boat here with the engine on. We've just got the landing net in, and if we get a take, what's happening is basically one of the rods is just starts knocking, tip starts knocking, and then the old bait runner starts zinging off, and yeah, that's basically what we've been doing, and it's working sweet. We're catching fish and we're happy. But we're up by the dam wall. We can only fish during the day out of the boats. You're not allowed to fish at night. You have to go back to your swim and stuff. And our swim at the moment, where we're set up, is a good old row away. It's right over there in the distance. You can see it over there, which is probably, well, we know how far it is because the guys next to us have told us that they were fishing 780 metres out, so it's somewhere in the region of about that, which is breaking the rules unfortunately. But you guys watching this don't know who those guys are next to us, so we'll just keep that one nice and quiet and to ourselves. But yeah, it's a lovely day, great conditions, and hopefully we'll have some more fish to tell you about later on if we get anything else. Right, we're just going to take a look at the hook baits that I'm using for my trip to the Orient. And before I came out here, I was getting a few messages off the lads like Jim and his mate Lee that the tench and the bream and the nuisance species are quite active. So what it is, I've got Gary Bays at Nash to make me up some of these large hook baits. These are absolutely rock hard, and they're not only nuisance species proof with regards to the bream and the tench, but they're also pretty firm when it comes to the old crayfish, because there's a lot of crayfish in the Orient. That's the staple diet of the carp, and obviously anyone who's fished a crayfish infested water will know that those sort of snippers can really whittle your baits down to nothing. So all I'm doing with these large hook baits is fishing them on very simple rigs, and simple when it comes to the setup. It's just basically the same as what I'd fish in England, other than it's got heavier gear on it. I've got a 45-pound leader there, I've got a Nash safety clip, an 8-ounce tractor lead, a 25-pound hook link, and as you can see there, a large size 2 Fang X hook, and that's just line aligned with a bit of shrink tubing. And then we've got one of these large hook baits on the end, and then that is just kept in place by a small mutant stopper. And the reason I put the mutant stopper on there is just to ensure that the hair stopper is kept more firmly in place, because when you've got crayfish that are active, obviously they can take that hair stop off and then take your bait off within a matter of hours, and that mutant just makes it a little bit harder for them to get it off the hair. But that's basically it, nice and simple, and it's very effective, and it's working at the moment. And so ends another carp fishing adventure. It's been absolutely fantastic out here. I've been out here for 11 nights, and of those nights I've fished 7, so to get 3 fish during the 7 nights that I actually fished, I think I've done fairly well. It's been very, very tough. Not only has it been tough physically to endure the mud, the walking around in the mud, the baiting up, the changing of swims, the rowing, everything about it has been absolutely tough. It really has. It's not just a tough physical challenge, it's also a tough mental challenge, because you do have to sit there and endure the blanks. There was a few lads on the water who've been out for 3 or 4 weeks and not had a fish, not had a bite. So for me to get 3 fish in the last couple of days fishing, I was really chuffed with that. I didn't look at it as an individual effort. It's been very much a team effort. Jim's been with me all the way, and you know, there's no doubt in my mind that I wouldn't have caught those fish without Jim's experience on the water. He's fished here for several years, but it's been absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to get back in a few months' time and hopefully get amongst one of those better Orient fish, because although the fish that we've caught on this occasion are nice and have been very rewarding, there's also the possibility on a water like that of catching something that's never been caught before, and catching something really, really special. So that's why we go there. That's why I'll definitely be back. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I've enjoyed actually being out here.